My friends online, how are we doing? I'm just going to start chatting while they get set up. It's been a
Oh,
busy
sure.
morning for the office, but hey, it's always a good day to connect. Nicole, I see you. Joseph, I see you too. So excellent. We got some great guests today. And Jen, you just start chatting when you give me the thumbs up when you're ready there.
Yeah, we're just getting the audio sorted out in the room. We got a full, it is live, yeah. Yeah, yeah. You get to see Gary. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're just making sure all the mics and everything are set up. We got some guests in the room today. So we're almost ready to go. Gary, just give us 2 minutes.
Excellent. My friends, if you're online and you're on Zoom, let us know where you're watching from. Home office is a place. I'll accept home office. I'll accept coffee shop. I'll accept the beach, even if you could do that. Let us know in the chat where you're watching from. As many of you know, I'm in Kelowna, and I hate to say it, my friends, it's t-shirt and short weather out here. I didn't say that out loud, Nicole. Don't worry.
Gary, that's not fair. Not fair.
Sandra's in Guelph. Yes, my friend. How are you, Sandra? Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, Gary, we're ready to roll, I think. Just waiting for Colin real quick. All right, we're good.
We're ready. Here, did you do your welcome, or I guess I'm coming in late? We have a full house here today. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for our monthly team meeting. Those in person, those online, those on the beach. I heard there's a few people on the beach. Gary's in Kelowna with shorts. Please just show us your top up. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Gary, over to you.
Excellent, my friends. Yeah, as mentioned, we have some amazing stuff happening today. Of course, Nicole's with us, and Joseph is with us from Mayfair Law, who some of us have used in the past, and our clients are using Joseph and his team. There's absolutely excellent experience. I know I have. And a few things that we thought we do today that we don't always get to do. And one of those things is obviously is talking about the market. And what Colin and I are going to do a little bit later on today, right after Nicole. I've set this up purposely so we do it right after Nicole speaks. Nicole, no pressure. No, I'm just kidding. To basically carry on that conversation. What's happening Canada-wide, and then kind of talking about the GTA and just things that are happening. They're just the real realities of what's going on, and perhaps maybe more importantly, what does that mean for you and your clients? So we're going to talk about that. And Dylan mentioned last week, he did an open house and he felt it was a little busier than usual, or meaning maybe sort of getting back to things that he experienced a number of years ago. And Dylan thought it would be pretty cool to talk about how to level up your open houses. And once we do that, what do we do with those people that we meet? Well, that's Jen. Jen's going to talk about the database and how to take leverage of a database and what we should be doing with their database. And of course, we have Ryan Turnbull here from KW Canada talking about all the new amazing things that are happening within KW and Command and our tech stack and what does that mean and how to leverage that. So lots of good things, my friends. But Colin and Jen, this is, when you live far away and you have a little bit of FOMO, well, the next little piece is a little bit of FOMO when you got to celebrate our agents at our awards gala the other day, and we got a little video, and maybe you've seen this video. I don't know if, yeah, here we go, Jason. I'm going to play the video, and then let's just talk about how an amazing night it was right after, Jen.
Sure.
Audio for it here. We're here celebrating 2025. And we're celebrating each and every one of your.
I'm not sure if the audio was going through it. I hear it amazingly on my side.
Let's start it over. Okay, let's start it over.
We can try. If it doesn't, we'll just flip right on through.
Yeah. Give us some really cool stuff what's being said here. We're talking about great art. We're here celebrating 2025. And we're celebrating each and every one of your accomplishments.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure everyone gets that video in our socials. It's already been out there. It was a lot of fun to watch that video and look at all the excitement there. Jen, Colin, you were there. Talk to us about it.
Jen, on our phone.
No, it was a great night. And first of all, absolute hats off to Steph Movina, who organized the majority of the event. She put countless hours into that. I gave her a really weird vision and I was like, just like help me figure it out. And she nailed it. And then of course we had some of our team, our ALC, Lauren Hoyles as well. Just shout out to you guys for your feedback and your guidance because we had an awesome night. It was so much fun. It was relaxed. We had drinks. We had non-alcoholic drinks. We had a violinist playing. We had music going on in the background. We had agents dancing up the aisle to receive their awards because everybody had their own song to walk up to, which they all selected. And then Jason put on this really cool app so he could manage that. He was DJ Jason for the night with Sarah emceeing the event. It was an absolute family affair. It was so much fun. We were ushering people out at the end of the night. The staff were like closing the doors. I'm like, we have to go. And then I know some people went out to Main Street after and continued to have a good time and connect. And so it's just a great example of the community and the culture that we get to celebrate once in a while here when we all get together and have a good time.
And it's such a great testimony to each and every one of our agent partners where we can just come together and we can just have fun. So many times during the year, it can be competitive or it could just be going after that next deal or you're hustling. And when you just drop your guards down and you have fun, you realize like, okay, we're all in this together. And some of the same struggles that you're struggling with, I'm struggling with. I'm not alone in this. And that feeling that was created that night was such a beautiful night. I made it I think Stephanie told me, I'm not going to tell you the details of it. It's just going to be a surprise and it's going to be a pleasant surprise. I was like, Steph, I don't like surprises because I want things to go according to plan. And it was a beautiful event. So I'm really looking forward to us celebrating each and every one of you again next year and us celebrating each other. So it was a great event. And Gary, you were missed. However, you got to see a video with no audio. Sucks to be you.
Excellent. On screen, what we have here is our new preferred vendor, and this is Crystal Wizard Studios, Jen, and they did an amazing job in covering that event, and they also obviously do your video walkthroughs of your listings and images and pictures and all sorts of amazing stuff. And as you can see here, to celebrate them coming on board with us as a new preferred vendor, you can have a discount of $50. Just use that discount code KWRC 50, visit that website. And I know Chris and his team would be ecstatic to help you promote your new listing and use his creativity. I always tell people, when they hire a photographer or a videographer, they just kind of let them do stuff. And that's amazing. Ask them, like, how can we add more value to this and use their creativity to help promote your listings as well? Don't just assume that you're getting a video and Jen, you throw up the images and the classic, we'll put a for sale sign and that gets a home sold. We know that's not the case, Jen.
Yeah, especially in this market, your home has to be priced better and show better than all the other options in order for you to get buyers through the door. So Chris is amazing. We've been looking for the right partner for quite some time. He wants to specialize with cultivating a database of agents who he is their partner for their listings. He's their go-to. He doesn't want to build a massive business, and that's what he loved about us as well, is that we both have that family style feel, but he wants to support our agents and be the on point person, the contact. He does social media content, he does marketing content, he does videography, he does floor plans, he does photography. His team covers all of that as well as other events. And it's a small team. There's only like 3 people there. So he wants to keep it that way. And we've been looking for the right person for a while. So as you can see from the video he made from the awards gala, he's very talented. We got that back in like 3 days, which blew my mind. And he's just, I highly recommend him. So if you're looking for a photographer, also, I know that prices have gotten a little crazy with photography and videography out there. He has a very reasonably priced package. So he will likely be a better deal for you right now than most of the companies that you've probably been working with.
And the bonus is you get a $50 off savings for him right now. So might as well use it. Good value.
Jen, we need to welcome Janelle to our team here.
Yes, Janelle Jonas, and welcome Janelle. Thanks for joining us.
Excellent. We're going to celebrate some of our first closings here, Jen, first listings with KWRC, and of course our agent highlights. I'll let you walk through this.
All right, yeah, it's first closing. Kelly Armstrong in the room with
And go, Kelly.
shout out to Kelly on that. She got that client from doing an open house from one of our other agents' listings and then was able to nurture and carry it through to get her first deal done. So awesome efforts, and we're super glad to see her.
It's the dance. It's the dance. No.
On screen, you're seeing first listings with KWRC. And if you got that, Jen.
One second.
Jason. Yeah. Oh. Perfect.
Just back
Yeah, move
here.
me out of the way. I don't need to be on that screen.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there we go.
All right, yes, congratulations. First listing, we've got Lorena Nalen, we've got Madupe, Scott Stevens, and Timaturi. Congratulations.
Excellent, excellent. And to celebrate our top producers for the month of March, this is Top GCI, Jen.
Yeah, awesome. We've got, oh, there's some new names on here. I love it.
Yeah.
We've got Linda Donnelly, Jonathan Chan, Sabina Lubin, Anushka, Krista, Christopher, Kelly, Natalie Stewart, and Darren Maltese. Congratulations.
Well done, everybody.
And of course, our teams, Jen.
Yeah, we got top producing teams, the Bongard Mitchell team, the Talia Black Real Estate Group, and John Brock Real Estate Partners. Congratulations.
Take a photo of that for John. Clearly, Claudia is on that team. You can hear from the cheers.
Excellent, excellent. This is kind of a neat little segment that that we're diving into. The Office of the Broker Record. Of course, we're going to invite Darren and Gail up, and Colin. There's kind of something really important that we went through as a brokerage over the last, really over the last several weeks, and of course, Colin, that is the RICO inspection, and I know you want to take a moment and just kind of highlight this.
Absolutely. Last week, was it last week Tuesday or last week Wednesday? It was a scary day. Yeah, it was last week Tuesday. We had our RICO audit, and I just want to take this moment to recognize our entire team. We have obviously our Office of the Broker of Record, Darren and Gail and Stephanie. Jason name looks weird. Stephanie is the one who was manning everything there. Sarah Wall at the front desk. We have Jason, of course, Heather Cecilia. Just the way the entire team came together and just did an outstanding job. Obviously, we passed the audit, and there was a great comment that was made based on the audit. So I'll have you take over. The mics are here.
Yeah, and yeah, well, one of the first mentions is the inspector mentioned that in 26 years of her doing that job, she never had a welcome sign. So that was a really nice touch from Stephanie. But she did remark about how detailed, how accurate, how excellent all of our record keeping is, and specifically our financials and how strong they are. So she said it's the best she's ever seen. So it was remarkable. And yeah. And I do want, like, Colin kept asking me in the days leading up, "You're nervous? You're nervous?" I'm not nervous. I wasn't nervous because Stephanie was giving me all the confidence. She said, "No, we got everything in order here." Like, okay, we're good to go. So we went through that. It was an all-day inspection, although I wasn't nervous or anything. But at the end of the day, I was spent. Like, there was a lot to do, but it was remarkable how the team really collaborated, worked together. Everybody was doing their part, pulling up the stuff that they needed. And it was an excellent result. So I'm really proud of the team for bringing it all together and having everything they needed to go every. So it was excellent. Thank you to everybody. Yeah. So that was, the first topic is just really the audit success. I guess we can go to the AI. Everybody's talking about AI. It's very popular. And what we come across sometimes is I even have some agents either using AI to maybe even build out their listing package or oftentimes create a clause. It can be very helpful tool. But you have to be very careful when you're creating a clause to put into an agreement of purchase and sale. because the details in that clause, the wording in that clause can change the meaning. You may have a particular perception of how that might affect a transaction, but either get it cleared by a lawyer or have it cleared by me before putting in any new clauses, okay? I often use AI to, you know, finagle a clause or get some more detail in there, but you have to be very, very careful. You can't rely on it. It's not 100% accurate. I'm sure that there's disclaimers on all those sites like this information is information, but you have to vet that information, okay? It can be dangerous, and it may have some unwelcome results for your transaction. So be very, very careful when it comes to AI. During the RICO inspection, again, this worked out perfectly for us, but it did bring up some attention to when we have multiple offers, okay? And I know they're not happening all that often right now, but they will come back. When you're doing multiple, if you're receiving multiple offers, sometimes agents are going to register that offer with a Form 801 on Broker Bay, and sometimes they'll just send it to you. And sometimes we see that an agent will register their offer with simply the first page of the agreement, right? Rather than a Form 801, because the Form 801 is not a mandatory form, but it certainly helps in those types of situations. But when we receive multiple offers, our obligation as a brokerage is to keep either the 801 or the full offer for each of those offers, because if there's ever a complaint or an inspection at some point to confirm that we said there was 8 offers, we have to be able to prove that. So if someone is sending it to you via email, make sure you use the appropriate form to register that offer, because it gets stored on Broker Bay and we can always go back and keep that in our files. If it's getting sent to you directly, you can forward it to a command email. Just make sure that we have a copy of it. You know, you deal with 8 offers and only one gets accepted. You may not keep all of those documents, but we have to have a record of it, okay? Very, very important. The last thing to speak about is the mandatory use of FinTracker. So we introduced that partnership with FinTracker March 1st. Spectacular program, one that people don't realize what our obligations are as realtors. When you're IDing a client, you have to ID that client, and your obligation is not only to ID that client, but to search sanctions lists, terrorist lists, money laundering lists, a politically exposed lists, all that stuff. FinTracker does that for you. And more importantly, you have to update that information every year for 5 years following the transaction. Imagine. So nobody's really doing that, but now we have that through the FinTracker app. And I'm going to be sending an email out later today about the details behind that. There is going to be a FinTracker fee for that, or a FinTrack fee per transaction only. This is not affecting our monthly fees. And it's really, that $5 is pure bargain. Imagine how much time it would take for you to check every one of those lists, Google your clients, all that stuff, and to manage it every year for 5 years. For the sake of $5, it's a bargain. So I'll be sending out some details regarding that, okay? Some clarity behind that. There's lots, we're going to send out a link to the FinTracker tutorials of how to use it all, how to upload it, all that stuff. Their support is excellent as well. So call them with any type of support you need. It's a no-brainer for your business, and a no-brainer to save you time and to keep you compliant and safe. It's amazing what the fines are out there. So we want to make sure everybody's protected. Okay. Any questions?
So if you file use FinTracker and you submit the FinTrack form, do we need to do anything to make sure the 5-year thing is done? Or is it automatic?
That's
So
automatically
the question is, once the FinTrack is
submitted
through the app, is it automatically done for those 5-year checks, or do you have to keep redoing it every 5 years?
No, you don't
Every
have to.
year.
That the FinTracker will monitor that every year, and then we go in and reconcile. We'll get notices if something's changed in a file that someone is suddenly now politically exposed. We have to, and people don't understand what politically exposed can be, right? Politically exposed could be related to a judge, related to a military general or anything like that. So, yeah, no, it does it automatically, and we'll handle that in the back end. yeah, as that comes up, those notifications should they come up.
And
So
I just want to mention, if you want to also touch on the fact, we are seeing a lot, not a lot, a handful of flags coming through. People are high risk or they're flagged politically exposed. This does not mean your transaction's at risk. It does not mean your transaction's not going to close. It doesn't mean there's a problem. This system is purely intended to gather this information, and if it's anything outside of the know your client and knowing the risk of your client, that's when things get submitted to the FinTrack, the FinTrack police. So just because your client has a red flag, politically exposed, or whatever list they may be on, chat with Darren or I. We'll guide you through how to deal with that. It's doesn't mean that your transaction is in jeopardy.
yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't automatically trigger what's called a suspicious transaction report. You know, again, for politically exposed, when you talk about someone who might be a counselor in a town and he or she is making like $50,000 a year, but they're buying a $3 million property. The government wants to know how they're doing that, right? So it's that type of thing, right? So, yeah, a flag doesn't automatically mean a suspicious report. We have to escalate that. We have to investigate further and decide whether we are going to submit a suspicious report on that. And that alone doesn't mean it's a suspicious transaction either. That FinTrack is gathering data from all kinds of entities, right? Banks, insurance companies, investment companies, everywhere, to kind of get a picture to see if there's anything that's untowards with a particular client or a particular company that's doing something that seems to be out of the norm for money laundering, terrorist financing, those types of things. So certainly be diligent with it. We're going to send out that email. Make sure that when you do install the app, if you're using the desktop version, it's always up to date. If you're using the app, you have to update the app unless you have automatic updates on your device. But we're going to send out information about that for some clarity. And then if you have any questions about any of it, certainly reach out. Or if you need support with the app itself, FinTracker is awesome for it. Awesome for it. Okay. Thanks. Did you have a question or we got answered? Okay. Thank you.
Darren and Gail, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. There's lots of moving parts, and I know that Darren and the team and everyone else is there to see your transactions go through, and using and leveraging the FinTracker app is to me a no-brainer. So make sure you are on that and leveraging that. One of the cool things, Jen and Colin, that we get to be a part of is bringing on like-minded people and into our world, and of course that's Mayfair Law Group, and having Joseph a part of that team now. I know back in January he closed. Joseph, you want to unmute yourself there? We'll get ready to introduce you. He closed one of my listings. And in a purchase there's a lot of moving parts with who was buying and who wasn't buying and so forth. And I can tell you that not only was I extremely happy that it went through without a hitch, most importantly, my clients were. And that's at the end of the day, the most important thing. When your clients are introduced with great people like Mayfair and Joseph, they feel well taken care of. So Joseph, publicly, thank you for that. And thank you for jumping on board with us today and talking to us on how you're serving our agents and more importantly, their clients. I know I've got a few questions here, but perhaps you want to kind of start off by introducing yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. I did join Mayfair. You guys can hear me, I would imagine. I joined Mayfair in January. I worked remotely for 5 years at another law firm where I was at for about 8 years, practicing exclusively in real estate, private lending, and all that fun stuff. And then decided to make the switch in January. I got a little homesick, and I needed to get back into an office. And so I hit it off really well with Yannico, and then met Simona and said, well, this seems like a very nice family that they have here. So let me try and adopt myself in here. So I joined and been loving it ever since.
Excellent. I got some questions here, and perhaps we can go through them if that's okay.
Of course.
and really, it's kind of questions that perhaps realtors, my friends, well, maybe we think of, but we never get to ask a lawyer this, and we're about to. So
Sure.
let's jump into this. And I know you see a lot of transactions come across your desk at good, bad, ugly. You're like, man, what were they thinking? Or wow, that was excellently written, perfect, and done. I can't think of a better person to ask these types of questions. But what are some of the bigger mistakes or legal mistakes that not necessarily a mistake, but omissions that people are doing at the moment, realtors are doing at the moment that you've got to circle back and say, hey guys,
Yeah, there are quite a few common ones. A lot of them, well, some of them are with condos, not having the correct common expenses, not having the correct legal descriptions, which is a very, very common thing, which can be easily corrected by, searching what the legal descriptions are. But I find that those are quite common to mess those up, where a unit is, let's say, 619, and they'll just simply put unit 6 on level 19 or whatever, or level 6 on unit 19, but legal descriptions are not going to always match that. So I find that to be an issue. I also find that some agents, not all, but there's a handful that I've seen, can't exactly distinguish between a chattel and a fixture. Um, I've seen people put in hardwood flooring as an included chattel. I've seen people put countertops and cupboards as included chattels. Th Those are fixtures, so they obviously come with the house. Nobody's ripping out the flooring or the kitchen cabinets, so you wouldn't really need to list those. Um, what else? Another big one, which nobody really thinks about, would be current use. I can't remember if it's clause 10 or 8 on the APS, but there is a section under the title search date that says what the current use of the property is, and 6 times out of 10, that's left blank. It's an important thing to put in. You want to know what the property is being used as or used for, so that the purchaser can continue that use. I guess it might be residential, so you just put in residential, but sometimes they're duplexes, sometimes they're legal non-conforming duplexes or triplexes, or maybe there's a residential at the top and there's a commercial at the bottom, depending on what your clients are buying. So that I also find is neglected, um, which could be a big deal if something goes sour with the transaction. Um, Other than that, I mean, I'm finding some interesting worded provisions. Uh, People are trying hard to put something together. It doesn't always make sense, but there is effort. I can see a lot of effort, and effort is good. Um, it keeps the real estate transaction entertaining, is how I like to put it. Because it gets me laughing, and I love it. I mean, I would say continue doing it, because most of the time it doesn't make a difference. But it would be a good idea to maybe check in with either the broker of record or a lawyer, or I mean, I'm always available. I think most people have my cell, just to kind of double check on some certain clauses, because sometimes they do make a difference, especially if it's a representation or a warranty, or even a holdback provision. Something like that is always important. Um, but yeah, those are the, I guess, the main ones that I can kind of see.
I love it. You gave us a lot there, and I like how you creatively said realtors are giving you some entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my friends, and it kind of leads into my next question. Before I do that, you did mention something, and I can see Nicole, our mortgage broker, nodding her head, is the current use of the property. And that's a big one. And if you can take anything away today, my friends, residential, that's an easy thing to write in. Get that in there just for clarity's sake. And that's important. And if it does get a little outside of the wheelhouse, or perhaps what that is, talk to Joseph, reach out to him, find out what actually has to be there, which leads into my next question. What do you wish realtors would ask you before submitting an offer? Typically we've got a cookie cutter, whether it's a condo or 3-bedroom single family, but there are things that come up that you wish people would ask you. I know there is.
Yeah, there are certain things like what should I tell a first-time home buyer, or It would be good to know whether or not during one of the inspections something was discovered, a faulty switch or an appliance or something that doesn't work, or how much of a big deal cleanliness is to the buyer. And the reason why I'm saying this is because more often than not, it comes up where, there's a crack in a window, it's not addressed, and then they want to address it before closing, and they say, "Oh, well, just hold back some money." It's like, well, one very important thing to note is that a lawyer cannot impose holdbacks, and if you try to, that's called breach of contract, because all money is due, not as much as you want to give is due on closing. So, if you know the client, which you should, and what's important to them, and if you discover something that's worrisome about the property that you know is going to require some attention in the way of a holdback or some credit or something, think about including that in an amendment or in the agreement or something, because it is not an enforceable thing to just demand holdbacks or credits or withholding money, because it doesn't happen, and it's always expected that the lawyer's going to deal with it and the lawyer will take care of it. Don't worry, let the lawyer do. Yes, I can handle as much as possible, but at the end of the day, if I'm not giving 100% of the money and there's no agreement for holdbacks, I'm stuck. And
Yeah.
it's hard to tell a client, listen, you're not getting $1,000. They're not going to deal with this issue. It's not part of the contract. So to know your client and to maybe ask questions about what their expectations are, this is, would be helpful.
Yeah, no, that's well said. And we often talk about uh, along our buyer meetings, and we'll have to say this over and over again because we do it. This is our daily job. We're used to this. Is setting that expectation, which also means, my friends, reminding people along the way. Yeah, we've had this conversation 5 times, but it doesn't matter. All right, and it just keep resetting that expectation. Well said, Joseph. As we kind of wrap up here, I like this question because I'd love to know, as a lawyer and with vast experience that you've got, if you were advising a family member buying or selling a home, what would you want their realtor to do or to know throughout the transaction or buying search, that type of thing?
So if I was advising, for example, my sister on purchasing
Exactly.
a home,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
I
Interesting.
like it. We got him, my friends. We got him.
Yeah.
Gary, this is where you send questions before.
Yeah.
I did get the questions before, like this morning, actually, and I didn't get a chance to look at them. I'm looking at them now, and I do see that question on there. I did not see that.
Phew.
But if it were my sister, because I got 3 of them buying a house, although they already own homes, I would fill that agreement up with representations and warranties like you wouldn't believe from the seller. I'll tell you that. Oh man, what else would I advise them?
A good agent.
Yes, make sure you do find a good agent. Keller Williams has a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so that would be one thing if you start dropping names and pick. Um, But I don't know. Like, what would I advise? Like, pay attention to the small things in a house, because sometimes that makes a difference. Like, if you see a crack in a wall, maybe that's leading to something else. Maybe there's something behind the wall. So make sure, actually, one thing I would recommend always for every deal, no matter what the property is, and I would tell my family member or any client whatsoever, inspection conditions. Make sure you use your inspection conditions. Don't just include them for the sake of getting out of a deal. Use them. Get the inspection done. Hire a good inspector. Don't rely on an inspection report obtained by the seller because it's not binding for you. It doesn't serve your purpose. It served the purpose for the seller to give a very brass tacks overview, high level of the property. It's not looking at things that you're going to be wanting to look at. It's not testing all the outlets. It's not doing any of that stuff. Get a good inspector in your pocket. I think that's one main thing of all the conditions that are out there besides on a condo status certificate, inspections. So
I love it.
that would be the number one thing actually. Forget all the representations and warranties. You can deal with that. It's used residential. You're buying it as is. Inspections. Know your property. That's what you want to look at. I
That
cross
that's
off
well.
everything I said before that. That's the big one.
Yeah, that's well said. We often tell one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Ted Lasso, and there's obviously that famous scene where he's like, "Just be curious." And I tell our agents that be curious when you're walking through these homes. Like you said, if there's a crack, be curious. Like, why is that happening? And things like that. Joseph, this is excellent. I hope we get to do this more and more as the team meetings roll on here. Remind us and tell us how we can get a hold of you, Joseph.
I'm always available on my cell, except for after 9:30, or for some people, it doesn't make a difference. But you could always reach me on my cells. If anybody wants to write it down, I can always say it, or I can even put it in the chat. It's 647-205-1274. Again, I can share that in the chat. That's not a problem. I got email, joseph@mayfairlawgroup.com. I used to take courier pigeons, but now my windows don't open, so they don't fly in anymore. When I was working remotely, they would. But I'm always accessible. So the best way to reach me is always by cell.
Excellent, my friend. Well, thanks for jumping on with us today. I really appreciate your time and
My
all the
pleasure.
best.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you so much, Joseph. That was amazing. And this is someone, Joseph's.
Question in the back.
Oh, there's a question in the back. He's gone. I'm sorry. I'm not a lawyer.
Oh, I'm still here. If anybody had a question. Sorry, I just
number-
shut everything off because I don't think
Yeah,
anybody wants to see this.
647-205-1274.
Yep, just put that in the chat.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Was there a question or anything or
It's just your number.
Just your number.
okay, there you go.
Thank you so much.
All right,
And
thanks.
I know Joseph is someone who just goes above and beyond with the entire Mayfair team. Like, these are our partners that really work for you, our agents. And you can trust them, you can have those conversations. I know one time Darren was having a conversation with him, I think at like 10:30 at night. And this is somebody who cares about us as agents and your clients. So please use them. Great company and great partnership. Thank you very much. Great job there, Gary, of those questions. I love it.
Excellent. Excellent. Moving on. We've got, as you know, KW has Command, and we have one of the gurus of Command and KW Canada and the tech and everything like that in our room today. And that is, of course, that is, of course, Ryan Turnbull. So if Ryan's in there, Jen, we can invite him to come on. There we go. Ryan, how you doing, my man?
Doing great. Great to see you, Gary.
Likewise. I had a little video here. I'll tell you what it was, and I know there's no sound on it. It was a video of Jason Abrams talking about how Command is opening its doors to some of the other apps and integrating like that. But we can skip that, and I know you wanted to talk about some of the things that is more relevant to here in Canada and how agents can leverage Command and, of course, everything along the way, my friend. So I'll hand it over to you. I'll flip over to your slide.
Hey, actually, Gary, if you want to stay there for a second, I can talk about the video really quickly because it is pretty impressive stuff. It was announced at Family Reunion in Atlanta. Keller Williams and Command is becoming more integratable with other third-party software, specifically through our connection with Stone Point Capital, things like Cotality, right? So that is, it's in there. I saw it. Yeah, Cotality was a big one. What that's going to allow every agent in KW specifically to do, because we have an exclusive partnership, I think you have a total of 4 times a year. As everybody opts in their day-to-day to different platforms and software, it's always collecting your information. We're all aware of it, whether you want it to or not, it just happens. Cotality is a trusted data source for all of that information. And because we have a partnership with them, and through Launchpad, which was announced at Atlanta Family Reunion, 4 times a year, you'll be able to hit a button where Cotality will fill in the missing information on your database. That's just one example of some of the things that were talked about and discussed at Family Reunion. By opening up Command, the words they use were, it's open for business. So a lot of the restrictions that we had that you would see other CRMs being able to connect and do, we're finally ready to move forward with that. It's a big endeavor. If anybody knows what DevHub is, Gary, I'm looking at you. It piggybacks off of some of that programming, which we've already used to bring in other things like Twilio and other amazing features. There's a lot more to it. That was the big one. And I can get into some other things in my slide. Actually, I did talk about some of those things. Any questions about that in particular? Cool. And Gary, am I screaming into this microphone too loud, or am I okay?
It's perfect.
Excellent. Oh, perfect. I got to tell my wife that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. If you want to just bounce it over to the next slide, I only have one slide for everybody. I probably should have used a smaller font, but a couple, did you know, a couple new fun things and facts about Command and KW in general. Outside of Command, quick show of hands. Who here knew or knows that you are eligible for a corporate discount with Rogers for your mobile device? One hand. Okay. I saved over $500 in my 2-year plan with the cell phone that I have somewhere around here right now.
Now you're telling me this?
Yeah, you can switch over. You need you're with Rogers. If you can still go in and go from your personal Rogers, use your @kw.com email to validate you as a KW agent, and you get set up on your corporate account. Everybody in your family can funnel through you, and you can pass on those savings. Be aware though, because like if it's my my kids and my wife, I have no problem paying that bill. But if I pass that savings on to my parents, my sister, they have to pay me their bill, right? Because it all comes through one. So amazing value right there. You get a corporate account through Rogers, saves you money right out of the gate. Gemini Pro. There's been ups and downs with this. When Gemini was first included in our KW profiles and accounts, it was just wild, wild west. It was wide open. Now you have a limited number of Pro interactions, and it resets like after 4 hours. But it goes from Pro to thinking to fast. Quick short story, never use fast unless it's like, hey, how do I get to this location? Pretty basic stuff. You always want to use Pro or thinking, and it's worth the wait to come back. Okay. So that and Notebook LM, more AI conversation. Who here knows what Notebook LM is? 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have kids that are studying, let them use your Notebook LM. It creates videos, flashcards, infographics, slide decks. It's amazing. I've learned so much just by leveraging that tool. It's not an AI component where you go and say, hey, let's talk about this, blank, 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 blank. You have to give it the material. So the MREA, the one thing, you give it those PDFs, it will scan all of that information, and that's its knowledge base. Another use case example is we all have ideas written on napkins in our cars, written on your notebook pad on your phone. You can take all of those, give it to Notebook LM, and that is its knowledge base to work on that project for you. It won't hallucinate and go outside those lines. That's the real value of it. It's open for whatever you tell it to work on. Yeah, so you're in control. Yeah. So Notebook LM is a huge one that I've been really leveraging and using a lot of. I recently it creates videos. I did a email safety, how to spot a phishing email, how to report it, and how to handle two-factor authentication. It's on my website if anybody wants to watch it. I use Notebook LM. It took me about 20 minutes, and it's not my voice, so everyone loves it. I have a weekday workshop. My website is techry.kw.com, techry, techry.kw.com. There's lots of resources in there. My workshop is open, kind of like this, shooting the breeze. People hop in, have questions, come and go as they like. And it's a great place just to learn a couple things. I got a lot of people that just hop on and follow along. Couple of, what's that? Thank you very much. It is weekdays, 11 o'clock online. You're going to want to go to my website. Don't bookmark the Zoom link because I put on there things like, I'm not available on the workshop today because I'm here with you amazing people, right? So things like that. Brand new to Command, personal brand kits available in your KW Canva accounts. So if you didn't know, everybody got a Canva Pro account recently. We partnered up with Canva. For the people that use Canva heavily and they love it, they were very disappointed that their personal brand kit wouldn't come over. And we told everybody, if you're that big of a Canva user, just wait. Well, don't wait anymore. You can download all your content or port it over one project at a time. Bring it into your KW Canva, the Pro account, and your own custom brand kit is there. All your branding, your fonts, your logos, your colors, everything. As well as the additional resources that's realtor-centric inside Canva that you'll only get through this connection. Cool. New paid ads and Command campaigns. Who here has used paid ads in the past? Who here struggled with it a little bit? They've made it a lot easier. specifically, I can go over the 20 new features in it, but the biggest thing is finding your listing when you want to move forward with your paid ad. You don't have to search all of North America to find your listing anymore. You have your own specific section. Right? Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything that I've covered? Excellent. My website is techride.kwr.com. I look forward to seeing everybody that can make it to the workshop. If you have any questions about these, I'd be more than happy to answer them or go over them. And hopefully, I'll be seeing a whole bunch of you at Thrive and Drive tomorrow at the Mississauga Convention Center. Thank you.
Excellent, Ryan. Appreciate what you do, my man. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tech Ryan. It's funny because Notebook LM, I learned about that from my daughter who's at UFT. And you would take all this boring PDF information and it puts it into Notebook LM, and that just becomes a podcast that you listen to, and it goes back and forth and it captures all that information. So when I want to learn anything new, Notebook LM, I'm always using that. It's one of the best tools for that. So thank you. Gary, back to you.
Well, we're going to hand it over to Dylan to talk about leveraging open houses, and of course, we're in that time of year where spring is in the air and people want to get out and visit open houses and drag their families along. And I know there's some pretty unique things that are happening. Dylan, talk to us about leveling up your open house, what you can do, what you shouldn't do, and how to leverage it.
Love it. Thank you, Gary. Well, I like that we started today with acknowledging Kelly's first closing, because within 90 days of being a real estate agent and taking on some open house challenges from agents in our office and supporting there, she's got her first closing. So again, congrats to you, Kelly. And it's a great reminder about the power of open houses. And it's easy sometimes to sleep on open houses or think of it as another thing that you've got to do on the weekend. But it's a great time to meet buyers where they are and where they're out, as well as, of course, showcase all the services that you're providing to your seller. But even if I'm not picking up buyers, one of the things I love about open houses is an opportunity to interview with sellers. And with my open house that Gary was talking about, 2 weekends ago, that was one of the things that I noticed more than ever is I found that I was getting a lot of neighbors coming through the open house that were talking about, hey, we've been thinking about downsizing, or we've been thinking about moving on. We're looking for our kids that need to move out. It's not necessarily always an active buyer that's coming through, but it's a great opportunity for me to start building out more names in my database and people that I have to connect with. And so on this slide, it's just the reminder of your steps. Of course, make sure that your home's looking great. We've got a great photographer allied resource that we mentioned earlier today. We've got some great staging resources. So if you need help preparing your listing to look the best, we've got that. We've got Gemini Pro to do any little touch-ups, provided it's within the realm of our BOR, making sure that you're not altering the photo. But all those tools are there to really showcase and look the best you can online right now. We're talking about all these platforms that make videos. You have to be posting that stuff. And really the work that you do beforehand is what's going to make you look so good on the day of. And not just look good, but also get enough people through the door. So we go back to what should I be focusing on the week of my open house? I use it as my lead gen tool that week. I'm door knocking around the open house, inviting the neighbors out. I'm hitting at least 100 of the neighbors, both sides of the house. And then I'm also going to my move up or move down neighborhoods and inviting them to the house as well. So if say I'm a starter detached home, 3 bedrooms, I'm going to the townhomes and I'm inviting them to come to my detached open house. I'm also going to my bigger detached 2 stories that may be over 2,000, 2,500 square feet, inviting them down as well. Maybe they've got, those kids at home that are hoping to buy. So I'm just looking at different neighborhoods where I can invite more people to the open house. So I'm not sitting there by myself on the day of. Talking about Facebook ads, I ran one for this because in my first couple of days, I was not getting the showing activity that I expected. I had fantastic photos. It was nicely staged. I'm like, this is going to be, agents are going to be knocking down the door to get to this place. Was not the case in my first 3 days. So I quickly pivoted to running some more Facebook ads to start getting people to come to my open house. And my real target with this one was not to generate leads. What I wanted to generate was realtor.ca listing views for a couple of reasons. I wanted to showcase to my sellers, look, everything's okay, guys. We're getting lots of traction online. We're getting favorites. We're getting shares. Everything's okay. So by Friday, I was able to generate that for them. And so for a total spend of $49, I reached 5,148 people. I had 7,813 impressions. Most importantly, I had 309 additional Realtor.ca listing views, which only cost me 16 cents a view. And so that was huge. Like, that kind of money spent is always great. And sure enough, at that open house on that weekend, I had 20 visitors through. Whereas at one of our other listings that same weekend, opening weekend, we didn't do this extra step for. We had 5 visitors through the open house. So massive difference for $49 and a little extra time generating that stuff went a long way. We can talk more like on the morning calls about how we do that, how I structure the ad. For those of you that were on today, I did get the Facebook ads working again. I got to talk with Ryan about how we can use command a little bit more for that. And then, of course, at the open house day of, it's all about rapport building and being engaging. Also, you don't know who's coming through that open house. Don't write them off. I'm almost certain that the people came through Sunday on my open house were the parents of the buyers that came through on a showing with their agent. And that was the sign off that we got, because this was now the second weekend of open houses. Didn't run my ads. I only had 6 people through that day instead of the 20 that I had through the previous weekend. But I think it was the nod that I got from the parents being there and me just answering the questions and, of course, explaining all about the house that really gave them that comforting nod, because not 4 hours later did I get the offer to finally come in, when I was a little nervous about that previously. So again, just pay attention to who's coming through the open house. You always want to lead with value. Of course, your main focus there, especially for your sellers in case they've got any private shoppers, we want to showcase the home, right? We definitely want to showcase the home. Our goal is to sell that. And of course, find out if the person's coming through, if they're genuinely interested. Now, we know percentage-wise, they're probably not going to be. I think it's 3% or less is the stats on a random new lead coming through that open house to buy that specific open house. It's quite low. One of the reasons why we as agents do it is so that we can pick up buyers, pick up sellers. Kelly didn't sell that open house to that agent that came through. No, she followed up with them and sold them a different house, right? And that's what's helpful for our business. So when you're there and you're finding out that it's not for them, we just want to be able to make sure that we can continue that conversation. So value adds that I start with anything that's around the home. I want to make sure that first, when they sign in, they immediately get a text and an email with the full copy of the listing, as well as links to the virtual tour. I'll get to more of that on the next slide. I promise I'm going to be brief. And then I move forward to like feedback forms. So I want to give them an opportunity to talk about what's in the house, and we're engaging together. Then after that, it's all about the follow-up plan. So Gary, if you don't mind going to the second slide there for me. So follow-up is where you're going to make the money from your open house. It's very unlikely that you're going to convert somebody right then and there. It's going to be in the follow-up that you do. So we know that 74%, this is a NAR stat, 74% of buyers interview only one agent. So if you catch somebody at an early open house because they're just exploring, you've got a 74% chance that buyer is going to work with you if you do a good job in that moment. They're just interviewing the one. It's going to take about 10 weeks in their buyer search. That's kind of the standard timeline. And we know we need 8 to 12 touch points in terms of our follow-up. So if you are not following up with them 8 to 12 times, there's a good chance you're probably giving up right before they're ready to work with an agent or pick an agent. So one of the things that I did was I went into Command and I created a smart plan for us. If you search this name in the published library, you will be able to find that smart plan. I've built it in a way that you have to go in and customize it each time you apply it for a listing. So my workflow is I will use that plan. I duplicate it for my 38 Benville open house. I put in that address for all the touch points. Make sure you put in your cell phone number. In my first email, the virtual tour link is there and a copy of the full listing is there. So again, you need to customize it for your open house, but it's an easy starting point for you guys to take a look at. And also a QR code here for a simple open house guide that you guys can follow when you're going through. So yeah, that's basically it. I just wanted to remind you guys, like, huge opportunity with the open houses. If you're struggling right now to get enough contacts and to add names to your database every week, great opportunity to do them, to showcase what you have. I'd say from those 20, I've got 5 or 6 that are like legit leads that I'm following up with. And then a few 3 or 4 more that are just going to be people I'm going to nurture for a little bit longer. The rest, there are still some, of course, that are coming through with their agents. So, just make sure you're asking those questions as you go through. But huge opportunity, and we have tons of resources through Command and through KW in general. So Gary, I'm all good, brother. Thank you so much.
Excellent. All right. Next up, we've got Nicole, our mortgage, preferred mortgage um, contact and vendor. Nicole, once we get all those contacts into our database and they're ready to purchase and you're doing that, we've got to hand them off to Nicole. And I always say this should be the second person that they are introduced to. First, it's you, then Nicole.
100%.
And
Yes.
then you can go shopping. Nicole, what's going on in the mortgage world?
That's exactly it. And honestly, there's quite a bit. I had to pick and choose what I wanted to talk to you guys about. It's a little bit of like housekeeping things, but all things I think I need to remind you guys about. I wanted to share with you though, I would absolutely love to be there in person. The reason why I'm not is actually because this week is absolutely insane for me. I've got literally like in-person events and things that I am teaching every day this week. And the only reason why I'm sharing that with you is to tell you guys that I'm seeing a lot of just a lot more activity. And 3 out of 6 of these events are coming from teams that are asking me to teach and talk on different things because of the fact that they're blasting their database and they're wanting to talk about. Some of them are first-time home buyers, some of them are sale sort of seminars, but there is literally in the last few weeks, this is all kind of coming at me because of the activity. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I think it's some good news. But basically, in terms of the topics that I wanted to chat on, we've got another Bank of Canada announcement that is coming next week. I'm pretty sure we all have these in our calendars by now, but April 29th. Depending on who you listen to, for the most part, overwhelming majority is kind of leading towards that holding pattern that we're just going to kind of sit tight for a little while. Just with everything that is going on in the uncertainty, most of the economists are pointing towards a bit of a holding pattern. Again, some of them are kind of pointing to still potential increases for, maybe later in the year, Q3, Q4, but for the most part, we're likely looking at that holding pattern. And I would lean more towards that just because things can change like every day right now. And so I think me personally, I feel like it's too hard to, to predict ahead right now. So I say just kind of sit tight with that holding pattern. And that's the information I'm sharing with clients as well in terms of what we're expecting. In terms of rates, I mentioned to you I believe it was on the last call, we had started to see some increases very specifically with the fixed rates in the bond market, and also those sort of changes to the variable rates as well too. Those discounts, those continue to be the same. I haven't seen anything increase more since then. It's like since the last few weeks, but we're sitting with that continued 30 to 40 basis point increase over the last several weeks. So that's pretty consistent. Again, I mentioned last month, I believe, to please make sure that you guys are checking in on your approvals. So just because you have these budgets that you're shopping around with because of those changes in rates and stress test over the last few weeks, please make sure that you are double checking those budgets and those numbers on those properties of interest prior to. You should be doing that anyway, but please make sure you're doing that. I wanted to just quickly touch on something that was mentioned earlier with Darren and Gail, just with respect to the politically exposed and high risk clients. This is something that I see a decent amount of, and I really want to emphasize to you guys, if you come across a deal with somebody that is potentially politically exposed or higher risk, please make sure that you are flagging that to us right away. I mean, we're going to notice as soon as we talk to the client, but the reason for that is because we have to plan accordingly for that. Financing with those kind of deals are taking at minimum 2 weeks with those. I have one that's on my desk right now that's taken almost 3 weeks. It is a higher level sort of government official, so that could be why. But at the same time too, if you're looking at conditions of financing and things like that for those type of deals, a 5-day condition of financing is not going to be enough. And that's just a standard. It doesn't matter that I have, dedicated teams at the lenders, for example. That is a process thing at every single lender. So it will take a significant amount more of time. Appraisals. I feel like I've been talking to you guys about appraisals nonstop lately. They continue to be the pain point of everything that I do right now. I wanted to give you a bit of an update on that because the last time I mentioned this, I believe it was last month, I was telling you I was seeing a significant amount of them, but I referenced the fact that a lot of it was more so on the refinancing and restructuring side because of people refinanced at a higher value a few years ago and things like that. I am starting to see them more on purchases now. And when I'm looking into it a little bit more and I'm having some more conversations, it's really coming down to the fact that a lot of the realtors, when they are doing their CMA or their comps to kind of, prepare for that sort of max offer, they seem to be excluding power of sales in their sort of assessment when they're doing their comps. We cannot do that. I wish we could do that. That is not the case. Appraisers are going to look at all true comps, and they're going to put the most weight on the most recent one. So nothing changes there, but I really want to emphasize that, because out of the last few that I've looked at that there has been a shortfall, it has come down to the fact that those were sort of ignored, we'll say, when doing that. So really want to make sure that I'm mentioning that. I am also seeing more and more appraisals being ordered on, like full appraisals being ordered on insured files. So most of the time, I'd say 99.9% of the time in an insured space, so when your client is putting down less than 20%, most of the time, people think we don't have to do appraisals. It's not that appraisals are not getting done. They're just basically desktop, like auto appraisals that are being done at the insurer. So, we feel like we don't have to physically send somebody there, which is the case. However, because the discrepancy in that, in those desktop appraisals are coming in with such a shortfall as well, we have a lot of, I'd say, I've probably seen at least between 5 and 10 in the last few weeks come back on an insured file, which is not an alarming amount by any means, but it is very atypical. So just be prepared for that as well too. We are not in a place where we can say, oh, it's an insured file, we're good. We have to make sure the value is there. Again, as long as we have these conditions of financing and things like that, typically a minimum of 5 days will be okay, because we'll get to know all these things prior to, but just please be mindful of that as well. I want to also talk about changes and amendments that are happening. This is like, I've had way too many of these over the last few weeks where it's basically coming to my attention afterwards, where changes are happening. So I'll give you an example. Most of the common ones, and I know I've mentioned this to you guys before, is price adjustments. Because the lending landscape is changing quite a bit right now, and we're starting to get much more particular, or lenders are starting to get much more particular and strict. I'm seeing even price adjustments with less than $10,000 get a lot more scrutiny, ask for inspection reports, things like that. So typically, and I've probably told many of you guys this when you've called me, one, we always want to know any adjustments or things that you are doing prior to. So just because I have financing in place and I'm like, yeah, we're good to go. If you plan on changing anything, changing the purchase price, adding in additional, things to be fixed or what have you, we need to know that. It's not something as simple as just throwing it in there and or for example, as Joe said earlier, putting something in there, for the lawyers to deal with, prior to closing. I need to know that, or the financing partner needs to know that up front as well. But yes, that is a shift that I am seeing, where normally I would tell you guys typically, less than $10,000, as long as the language is fairly general and we're not, specifying any specific issues. It's not really getting, flagged or asked for much. I am seeing that like more and more and more now, very frequently, that the lenders, especially insurers, want to know exactly what's going on and why. And I think that's also tied to values and things like that they're just being extra sensitive with things. So note on that as well. And then I wanted to also talk to you guys a little bit about renewals. I'm getting a lot of calls on, just people wanting to do renewals, and this is coming from realtors as well, people wanting to renew and then the values being an issue. So we are seeing this more and more now, where normally I would always tell you guys or tell clients, if we think value is going to be an issue or something's changed with their employment, for example, we just stick with the same lender and we try to negotiate rate, and we don't, rock the boat or have any issues in terms of requalifying. It is happening, unfortunately, more and more now, where lenders are not renewing. They're not auto renewing. So it's coming to a few different facts. So if the clients themselves or the borrowers themselves have a significant change in credit, debt loads, just overall credit score, because remember, the lenders can see this, they are possibly choosing not to renew or renewing at not favorable rates. In addition to that, this is a really, really big one. I am getting way too many calls, unfortunately, on lenders not renewing because they see the home is very much over leveraged. So because of the values, they're just choosing not to renew, or again, not favorable terms. So unfortunately, it's looking like we're not in that safety, zone or net where we can just be like, oh, don't worry about it. You'll be fine with the current lender. We have to prepare for these potential outcomes. So again, this may not necessarily, impact you guys directly unless it's your personal mortgage, but just be mindful of that and making sure that you're putting them in touch with the right people. And the last thing I will leave off with, and you guys have heard me say this multiple times, is not all lenders are created equal, nor are their products. Just this week alone, there have been 3 deals. It's Wednesday today. So 3 deals alone this week that have been what I'm going to call pretty cookie cutter, that were initially being declined and came to me as a, hey, Nicole, can I get a second opinion? Simply because we are not choosing the right lender. And the product. So it's really important, guys. So anytime you guys are hearing, a no, especially if it's a client going to a bank specifically, hopefully it's a little bit more due diligence on the mortgage broker side. But if you're especially hearing it from a institution, like an actual bank themselves, it is very possible that another lender will be able to do it. So just get that second opinion. I will stop there because I just threw a lot at you guys. Gary, I saw you taking some notes, so I don't know if you have any questions for me.
I'm taking notes for what I'm about to talk, but no, this is always excellent, Nicole. And I'm going to mention about that rate hold as well as what potentially could happen over the next, 6 to 12 months, that type of thing. That renewal piece is highly important. And I think if I'm to think about that, Nicole, out loud, that's more along the lines of, hey, someone had bought a home and maybe the peak of 2021 leading into 2022, that mortgage renewal is coming up, and they probably are maybe underwater right now, especially if they're a first-time home buyer or they made that huge move up where they didn't have a lot of equity to move. I think that's the demographic you're kind of talking about, right?
100%. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For those that have owned a home or been in their home for even prior to COVID, we'll even say there should be enough equity. The banks will just send you that renewal letter, is my assumption, and you should be fine. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that last 3 to 5 years that's really, really sort of the peak of everything that's happening right now, for sure.
Well done, my friend. Remind us how we can get a hold of you.
Most of you guys, I think, have my number, but cell is always best, or WhatsApp me, 416-725-3999. And you guys have my email as well, nicole@mortgagees.ca.
Awesome. Thanks again, Nicole. Appreciate it.
No problem.
My friends, we are going to talk about, here we go, Colin. Yeah, Colin, Jen. We are going to talk about what's going on in the Canadian real estate landscape from kind of a really broad view to getting down into the Toronto area. But I will tell you this, I will still keep it somewhat broad. If you want the real local news of what's going on, I have a slide at the end of this. Of course, that's Dylan and Matt. They talk about what's going on in our local area at a very micro or macro specifics. And we're going to talk about what's going on across the board. And there is some really good things happening. There's some confusing things that are happening. And of course, there's always things that are happening outside of our nation. As we know, worldwide economics are kind of being it's like shaking the dice and throwing it out there and seeing what's happening at this moment. And that's just where we are. And that's the reality of it, Colin. And we've got to look at it from our realtor lens on how we navigate this for our clients, right?
So as it is right now, Gary, we can only see the April 2026 Canadian real estate market update. Is there a new slide that you're on?
No, we're right here. We're moving ahead. Good. Here we go. Yeah. So if you wanted to tune out in a minute from now, but this is what we're going to talk about. Here's what we know. Toronto sales have kind of bottomed out. And they've kind of been at that bottom at about 62 to 64,000 sales per year for the last few years. And we know that prices are still a little bit soft, yet we are hearing in some really one-off circumstances that there are multiple offers. But I can tell you, in the multiple offers I've been a part of, things are still not going, for the most part, not going over asking, but we are getting multiple interest and multiple offers. Flat rates, we've talked about that, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit in more detail in a bit. New listings are actually drying up a little bit, and we're going to show you some stats of what that means. yet it hasn't quite shifted the pendulum yet, but we are seeing a little less listings than we've been typically accustomed to. So moving on, Colin, to our next slide here, let's get into this. The rate path, market price, and this is what I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad Nicole kind of prefaced this, that we are most likely going to see a rate hold next week, yet the economists out there are still perhaps leading towards, or at least having this conversation, Colin, about factoring in 2 rate hikes over the next, even by the end of the year.
And that's what we're seeing right now. And like you rightfully mentioned, a few economists are already stating what that can look like. There's also the geopolitical situation of a war in Iran and how that can impact the real estate market. We know it's not just impacting the price of oil, it's fertilizer, it's computer chips. There's so many things that are impacted just by the Strait of Hormuz being somewhat closed and the war in Iran. And that domino effect can really affect us here in Canada, even though most of our oil is not purchased from Iran or from the Middle East. But you're going to see that domino effect because fertilizer feeds the world, right? And there's going to be uncertainty in this market. What is that going to do for real estate? What is that going to do for our interest rate? And if we come back to one of those staple questions, if I'm up for renewal tomorrow or next month, am I going with a fix or variable? Based on everything that Gary, what would you say?
Here's what I'm kind of seeing from a big picture is that we hear rate hike and we all of a sudden think, oh, we're going back to 5.5%, 6% interest rates. I think, and I want Nicole to nod her head or say, no, Gary, you're way off base. I think what we'll probably see is a 0.25% hike, then maybe an additional one. And I don't think we're going to see the big jump of like 0.5 or 50 basis points in one go. Thank you, Nicole. She is saying yes. She's saying it with like, I think you're right, Gary. but and that's just it. We just don't know. But I think it'll be like another slow move, and that's just to kind of reset. And of course, and we'll have to watch. And I want you to listen to my words kind of carefully here. We want to watch inflation expectations, not necessarily the inflation itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
And that's really, really important because geopolitical, I can't even say that word right now. You know what I mean?
Geopolitical, yes.
Thank you. That, not only does that play into our economy, that plays into people's, that's the headlines. That's what people think is their reality. And it sometimes isn't, and you have to have that conversation with a Nicole and so on. Okay, moving on, because we got a handful of slides here, and I want to make sure we get through all of these in due time. Consumer confidence is slipping. I would say, and I should have retyped this, perhaps it slipped, and now it's I had a mentor once say, Colin, us as realtors and in the industry, and whether you're Nicole as a mortgage broker or so on, whether we like it or not, we do carry influence. And it might not be to millions of Canadians, but I truly hope it's to your sphere of influence, meaning your 5 best clients, your 10 clients that are watching right now, that are listening to you, your 20 or 30 or 40 people of, the favorite people that you always pick up the phone to. That's where we can go and instill some confidence, or at least maybe more importantly, clarity.
And they're seeing how we react to certain situation and using that as a gauge. If we're all panic as real estate agents now, they're going to panic, right? So what Gary's saying here is right, absolutely spot on. Next year.
Yeah, let's move on. I got some stats on here. I'll make sure all these slides are available. But just know, the bottom one there is perhaps we'll land on that just for a moment. Toronto unemployment now at 8.1%. This could be your sphere. There could be people, you think about it. There should be someone that if you know 100 people, perhaps 8 of them are unemployed. So have that knowledge and understand what that means for them and as they move forward. Okay, Canada at a glance, March sales. reading the national picture is simply this. Toronto is the lone positive somewhat where we are seeing year-over-year sales change. So we went up 1.7%. And I did a video on this last week, and the headlines came out, hey, Toronto's sales are up year over year. And when I actually did the math, it was like 67 more sales than the previous year.
It's up, and it's how we manage that news, right? So sales are up.
Sales are up. Sales are up. So as I said, I feel we've hit that bottom, and we're just starting to see a little bit of movement go in the other way. So I share this slide just so we kind of check our expectations as well, right? All right, next slide here. The Toronto headlines, what are we seeing? Well, there's those sales, 5,039 for the month of March. New listings you can see it at 14,000, over 14,000. That's down 16% from last year. Days on market, you can see 31. Average price is a big one because we're now back over $1 million. You might recall back in, January, the headline was for one of the first time, I think about 6 or so years, we fell below the $1 million price range for average price. Then the new listing is interesting for me because we are also seeing almost like a halt of new builds and new construction for the first quarter, which is really, really interesting. So you just got to understand what that means. My takeaway from this, my friends, is perhaps the demand may have found the floor. Supply is quietly tightening up. And when I mean quietly, I mean very slowly. So if we're seeing a lot less listings come to market, prices should hold at about where they are. And I don't want to dare say start creeping up, but just be aware that this is one of those leading indicators. We have lagging indicators and leading indicators. This is one of those leading indicators, Colin.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. So where do we go from here, and what's happening? Well, let's kind of move forward and kind of look at this, and this should not come of any surprise, and we won't spend too much time on this. These are your average prices in the Toronto area. For detached, 1.3, down to condo, 620,000. You can see in that orange or whatever color that is, condos remain the weakest segment, which is quite interesting. So if you look at that next chart over there, prices were down year over year for detached, 6.5%, but you can see semis and condos were over 9%, and that to me tells us a few things. That they had the most price correction. I don't know what I'm trying to say. The price correction had to happen the most there. Then then it is going to be that ripple effect. We'll start to see that ripple forward, and we need to use stats like this and localized information. Remember, this is broad. Use your localized information to help your pricing strategy, both on the listing side and on the buying side, so you set those buyers' expectations.
And what we might potentially see, Gary, this might also be the first market to come back and really pick up, because condos, we usually know that a lot of first-time home buyers are buying condos, and because a lot of first-time homeowners aren't buying, that creates a clog in the entire system. The moment first-time homeowners start coming back, it moves everything down along the way, and then you'll have your move up, your move down. But that starts with a first-time homeowner, and the moment they start coming back into the market, it's where I think we'll see a swing. So that is one metric to look at, to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, and I would add too, if your business is weighted more on the condo side, have this conversation first with yourself and then with your condo clients, so they have their expectation kind of met as well. It's really, really important to identify where your business is on this graph as an example, and have those conversations with your clients. Okay, new listings are rolling over. So what does this mean? Well, as we just said, new listings are down 16%, 16.7% year over year. Condos are down, in fact, 18%. And we're seeing some movement here. This will be interesting to see. So if you didn't sell last year, you might be putting it off to this year. But we're not seeing that in the numbers just yet. So I caution you with this slide saying we might see a little bit of a surge again from those listings that didn't sell last year, Colin.
Mm-hmm. And that is coming back to the spring market you're expecting?
I think so. That's just pure me speculating. So take that with a grain of salt. But think about it. If you may have even been a part of one of those listings that perhaps didn't sell last year, and the seller and you decided, well, let's put it off to next year, or let's see how this spring market starts to shape up. Yeah. So just be aware of that. Remember, we always know what type of market we're in today. We don't know what we're in 3 months from now or 6 months or longer, that type of thing, right? So always have that expectation and that conversation. The transition, though, or the translation really is, we are seeing a new supply kind of at a low. So you might want to take advantage of that. Right. So just kind of have that awareness is I guess really what we're saying here. Active inventory, first year of year-over-year decline in over a year. Yeah, we kind of talked about this. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's important that these stats are on here. Months of inventory is also improving ever so slightly. So the average is about 31 days. I think I remember saying out loud earlier. Of course, know your neighborhood, know your pocket of your months of inventory, how many days on market that you're getting. When I often say this, Colin, we can use our stats in Broker Bay to see how many, what's the average showings per sale is.
Yep.
And that is such a fantastic metric. So if you're in a neighborhood and you see your average sales go through, and you're seeing the average number of showings being 30 after 4 weeks, and you're at 10 showings after 4 weeks,
there's a pricing issue there.
You've got a pricing issue.
Yeah.
And that's where you can talk to Dylan and the team about what that looks like and how to look at that and so forth. So that Broker Bay metric is really, really helpful when it comes to having the pricing conversations with your clients. Use it for sure. Power sales. Okay. I put this up because it always gains attention, especially in the headlines. Colin's smiling because he probably knows where I'm already going to go with this. 450 listings in March, one of the highest new power listings, number of power listings that Toronto Real Estate Board has ever had. And you can see somewhere, right there in the red, Niagara Falls sale printed at 47% loss from when they purchased it. I looked that sale up, in fact, from when they purchased it. I think it was 2021. You're going to see headlines like this. You're going to see lots of headlines like this. What I also caution you in the fact in two ways here. We are still at our average of delinquency rate of about I think it's 0.3% of all mortgages in Canada are delinquent. And in the United States, it hovers at around 3%. So remember, we are 0.3 to, I think it's 4% in any case. The US is at 3.0%. There's a big difference there, but yet it creates news and it creates headlines. And some of these headlines get your buyers thinking, oh, I want to go out and buy a power sale property so I can get a deal. Whether those power sale deals are far and few between. and we don't need to dive into this today. Just know that legally, the lawyer and the seller and the bank have to promote and advertise this at fair market value and prove everything that they did to sell this home at fair market value. That's our Ontario law. So just have that clarity, and we can dive into that in some one-on-one conversations or thereabouts. And I know Darren talked about this at one of his workshops very recently. So there are very knowledgeable people in power of sale in our office here. Okay, trade up. This is really interesting, Colin, because Dylan talked about this at his open house. He had a home where he went and talked to the people that could possibly trade up to this house and also trade down. Yet what we're seeing here is sellers are kind of frozen because of the lack of equity that some owners have at this moment. And Nicole talked about this too. The interesting thing is, typically, you buy your condo or your townhouse, you move up to that detached home, and then you kind of outgrow that. So you move up to a bigger home, and then the reverse kind of happens here, right? That's kind of the cycle of owning a home. And you can see here over the last couple of years, that difference is kind of tightened up. However, I will say, Colin, if you've had a client that's owned, say, a townhouse pre-2021, 2020, that jump from a townhouse or their townhouse to a detached home might be as small as it's been in many, many, many years.
I would say decades. So this is an opportunity for you have clients in a townhouse or a semi, easy transition to now a fully detached home. They might be paying an extra 100 grand, 200, mortgage spread over 25, 30 years. It's pennies now. So it's a great pennies. Move up.
Yeah. And there's kind of like two pipelines here. You got your first time buyers, perhaps, that were never affected by this crazy pricing.
Yep.
That we've experienced the last 4 or 5 years. Right. And then those, of course, the people that have to sell. Mm-hmm. Life changes, job changes. They've owned their big 3,500 square foot home and they just don't need it anymore, right? There's all of that. And I got a slide here. I think it's the next one that is really, really intriguing. In fact, let's just go jump into that. I want to spend just a moment here, and I'm just going to read this. Homeowners are sitting on flat or declining equity that they don't move. We understand that. Why? Because when it comes to commissions, land transfer tax, mortgage breaks, and all sorts of stuff, when you have tremendous amount of equity, it's easy to say yes. When you don't, it's very difficult. And when you're confused, you do nothing. So it's our job as realtors to provide this clarity, right? Okay, moving on. This is a really interesting slide. Demographics on the coming supply. I want you to really tune in and listen to this. 1 in 4 detached homes in Ontario and BC are owned by someone 75 years or older.
Yeah.
Now catch this next part.
Let's not sleep on that. So 25% of homeowners in BC and Ontario are over the age of 75. So if you don't have clients like that in your database, start working, because over the next couple of years, they're going to be owning most of the homes. Continue, Gary.
Well, check this out. So 1 in 4 owned by 75 or older. By the time they're 80, only 1 in 9. So what that tells me is
they're selling in the next 5 years.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it. If you're looking for a niche and you haven't quite found your niche, this is an excellent one to dive into. In fact, you kind of know stuff, but you don't really have any hard data on it. You're like, the majority of homes are owned by, senior demographic. This is telling.
Yeah.
Absolutely
a good one
telling.
To keep. Yep.
I don't need to go into much more of this other than that first sentence there. There's a lot that there's a lot of equity that's going to be moved. Obviously, we've talked about this for many years with this demographic over the next handful of years. This is quite interesting as well. There's also, you can see the next line there, power of attorney listings in Toronto set a record last year. So though that demographic is aging, and in this case, a power of attorney basically means someone is providing, or someone doesn't have the capacity to make the financial decisions for their life.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm kind of to summarize.
Yep.
So they're having their child do it, or they're having a lawyer do it, a firm do it for them, right? So if we can cater our business or a segment of our business to that, and you can go get your senior designation as well. That's a thing. Go and do that. That might provide tremendous value to you and your clients. But this might be kind of one of those. I say hidden gem because I don't see too many people talking about this unless you're in that circle. But this might be a sort of tremendous opportunity for you. The other thing too is,
well, we can even say you're looking for an opportunity to grow your business. This is a demographic you need to start looking and serving, because we see what the stats are saying, and over the next 5 years, how much movement there will be. So it's a great opportunity in this moment.
Yeah,
and they've built up so much equity. So yeah. Anyway, we're moving.
Moving on. Okay, so what does this mean for your business? Then we'll get Jen to come up and kind of help wrap us up here with a little bit of her knowledge. Sellers need real conversations. Don't sugarcoat it. Yeah, we could probably sell your home for 1.3, knowing all day you're selling that for 1.1.
Yeah.
Like, have that self-discovery with them. Buyers who waited are in your pipeline, which also means some of them are sellers.
Yeah.
Right. Go talk to them and find that hidden inventory. We just kind of talked about that. Just because that home is not listed today doesn't mean it can't list tomorrow. And we just talked about a demographic that sells homes. Once they reach 75, they should be on your radar.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Good stuff. Yeah, I'll make sure all these slides are available. There's all the resources that I took this from. This is how we help educate our clients. And of course, as I mentioned, if you want that localized market intel, Matt and Dylan do a tremendous job on doing that and taking the time and their resources to put together some amazing information that you can share with your clients. Make sure you are watching that and getting that info. Jen, we're going to invite Jen to come up. I know we've gone a little bit long today, but Jen, talk to us about our database and how we can leverage our database and so on.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick this real quick because I know we've just thrown an absolute ton of information at you today, and it's getting hot in here. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that. But what I wanted to hit on really quick was, in order to exercise all of these opportunities at the highest level, you need to be leveraging a database. Care particularly which one it is, you just need to have one. I know some agents have an Excel platform that they use and they have everything organized. If that works for you, great. Obviously, Command is accessible to us and it does all of these things, but you want to leverage your database specifically to nurture and create opportunities for your clients and also for yourself. Most agents, and you guys know I talk to agents a lot, both inside and outside this brokerage, the top conversation I have consistently, like literally 3, 4, 5 times a week, is how to build a database. And it kind of scares me because I sit there and I'm like, do our agents need this information? And so part of that is to let you know that there are playbooks in Command when you go to Connect that cover all of this, how to set up your database, how to tag everybody properly, how to do events. You just go to playbooks, and every single playbook you can think of will pop up for open houses, social media, and on and on. But getting back to the database activation, you want to make sure that you have your database segmented properly. So if you have, which a lot of agents do, a phone and everybody's in your phone, you have a phone book. If you have a CRM and everyone's in there, but they're not organized into groups, they're not tagged appropriately, and they're not on follow-up systems, you also have a phone book. It's just in a really pretty system. You have to manually go in and make your calls and have your conversations and send your text messages You are working way harder than you need to work to make money if your business looks like that right now. And this is a full training session. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but the basics you need to remember are your job is to stay top of mind. Your database is a revenue generating tool in your business. It is not an administrative task. Most agents I talk to think their database is admin work, and they always lump it in with admin work. And then like, I'll get to it when I'm going to do my admin work, and then never do it. And then a year later, we have the same conversation and their business hasn't grown. It is a lead generation, lead revenue tool. If you are a database driven agent, by the way, like 80+% of transactions right now are done by repeat and referral business. So you are also working on the 17 to 20% if you're not working your database at a high level, which means you're doing the hardest possible version of this job right now, because trust is at a real low in our industry. We all know that. The media, all the noise, everything that's going on, trust accounts, everything that's happening. People are leaning into who they trust and who their friends and family trust more than they have. Historically, that stat is actually usually about 75%. It's gone up 10% in the last 2 years. That should show you where buyers and sellers are thinking right now. So if you're not leveraging your database and you're not nurturing it and you're not talking to the people in your database and you're not adding people into your database, you're making less money than you could be. You're also not serving the people in your world at the highest level. And both of those are huge factors in how we show up in our business every day. So we want to use our database to stay top of mind. That's our automated emails. That's our quarterly phone calls. That's our touches and our reach outs and our invitations to events. We want them to see our name on their phone, in their email. They want to talk to us at least once a quarter. You want to get face-to-face time, and your systems and models have to provide all of that structure. And then you want to automate as much of it as you can so that when you're out showing a property somewhere, your database is still talking to your clients for you and nurturing that next piece into your pipeline, right? We want to build relationships, tagging, organizing your database into people you've met, into leads versus contacts, into sphere of influence, referrals, VIP clients, vendors, past clients. You need to know all of that so you can communicate specifically and directly to the right groups of people, which means the way your database is organized is actually the number one factor in how you're going to actually generate more business. Because if I know Kelly's a brand new agent, right? She just did her first deal. She's in my database. I am going to call her and congratulate her because I got that information. Somebody who's a top producer who just increased their business by 10% or their business just declined, I'm going to call them and have a very different conversation. I can only know that information if I'm tracking it somewhere. That's what our database does for our business as well. And then the final piece is it creates opportunities. And based on what Colin and Gary were just talking about, I would be going in and looking at my database and going, okay, well, who's over 75 and who is a first-time buyer and who owns a townhouse? And then I'm specifically going to send valuable information to those groups about what the market is telling us right now and what that opportunity is for them. And then I'm going to ask them if they want to meet with me to talk about it. That's how I'm going to book my appointments into my calendar for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you want to learn more about it, because I'm going to stop there because it's getting way over time. You can do the contacts playbook. You can do the database playbook. Just go into command. If you don't know how to find it, just text me. I will send it to you. I have copies on Google Drive as well. If you do not have a database that you are working on or that is growing your business for you, you need to commit right now to focusing on that for your business. When 80+% of the deals are being done that way, you need to be in that space. Whether you want to be or not, it becomes irrelevant. If you want to make more money, you need to be present there. And if you need guidance on how to do that, just let me know. And obviously we'll have training on the calendar going forward as well. Thanks, Gary.
Well said, Jen, and thank you so much for that. And what we've seen, we've thrown a lot of information here to you today. We talked with the lawyers, the mortgage broker, we had Command, Jen is talking about database, we had Gary talk about just the stats. We've committed pretty much an hour and 45 minutes here together. And a lot of information was thrown. And that will be a complete waste if you don't put something into action when you leave here today. We know the old saying, knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Execution is power. What do we do with this information that we have? So as we leave here today, I'll ask one thing of you. What is one thing that you know you should be doing in your business that you're not doing? That if you were to do it, will grow your business substantially. That might be database. That might be targeting a new group of clients. But just focus on that and you'll grow your business. Gear or Jen?
Yeah, it's back to me.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and with everything that's Colin's saying as well, if you need help with that, I have talked to Jamie Purvis again. He was here in the fall. For those of us that were here, it was an awesome session. We're going to do another workshop with Jamie on the 29th, which is next Wednesday. And it's going to be on how to convert your clients specifically, so that you can take the clients you have in your pipeline and look at the opportunities in your database, and then have a system and a strategy on how to convert and get momentum with those relationships, and also develop continuing relationships for repeat business. It is going to be virtual. It is not in person for this event, because we know that we're going to have a lot of people that want to attend, and Jamie's awesome. So we're actually going to do it online. So April 29th from 1 to 2 on Zoom. You guys will get calls from the office, and obviously the Zoom link will be emailed out to everybody as well. But please register if you are going to attend, so that we make sure we get you the link and you have everything you need to get Jamie's information, because Jamie's awesome. And you guys have heard me talk about that before. And some more upcoming events. We have Thrive and Drive, which is happening tomorrow at the Mississauga Convention Center from 8:30 to 3:30. It's $99 for tickets. It's an amazing session. Cody Gibson's going to be the keynote speaker. He's the head of MAPS coaching. He's also just a brilliant business person, absolute amazing coach, trainer. He's gone through that whole gambit in his career. And he's here to talk to us about not only the market and how to navigate it, but he's going through stats that Keller Williams International created for Canada specifically. He's also going to be talking about AI integrations and what's available. And then our panels are also going to be speaking on how they're leveraging those tools in their business to get the most out of them. And they're doing it at a very high level right now. So it's going to be an awesome day. We do have a potluck coming up, guys. Cinco de Mayo, as we all know, is a very fun day. We're going to be doing a potluck here on May 5th from 12 o'clock to whenever we decide to check out. There's going to be tacos. There's going to be some margaritas. There's going to be some music and fun, and it's going to be a good time. So if you can make it, please come. We love to hang out and see you and just get a little bit of social time to reconnect. And then last but not least, guys, Red Day. Most of you know what Red Day is. A few of you are new to the brokerage and you may not. Red Day is a day across Keller Williams internationally where all of the offices shut down and we go back into our community and we support our community as a way to give thanks for all the support that they give us throughout the year. And because we're community driven in our culture, and of course we want to be involved in our community as well. So RILC has been working hard on this. And this year what we're going to be doing is partnering with two different charities, the Life Center as well as the Lions Foundation of Dog Guides. Both charities are dear to our hearts in that people in our brokerages are involved with them and have benefited from their services. We're going to have a shredding event happening from 9 to 12 with the Life Center. So there's going to be a big shredding truck in the back. People can bring boxes. They can bring old hard drives. It's $25 a box or hard drive. And all of that money gets donated to the Life Center, and you will get a tax receipt from the Life Center for those boxes. On the other side, with the Lions Foundation, we're going to be doing a bake sale and a book sale. So when people are coming to drop that stuff off, they can come to the sidewalk sale. They can get some baked goods. They can buy some books for really cheap. All of the money we raise from that will be going to the Lions Foundation of Dog Guides. So we're excited to be a part of it. Most importantly, this is also an absolute huge database opportunity for you. We sent out email on Friday afternoon. It had a flyer. It also had some social media links attached to it. Promote it to your database. Call them and ask them if they have shredding or hard drives, or they want to come by and get books or do things like that. Use that to pick their stuff up. Say to them, I will come and get it if you can't make it. That's a face-to-face interaction. You're getting more engagement with them. Get them to come here if you can, because then you get to hang out with them here and socialize. And then, of course, there's the social component of it as well. Leverage Red Day to maximize your business by doing something of value for your community and getting your database involved. People want to help. They want to do these things. And we all know there's a ton of shredding that needs to get done every year around tax time. So it's perfect timing. So with that, thank you all so much. We will see you guys around the office. And if you need any updates or any QR codes or any follows from what we went through today, just reach out to the team. We'll get you whatever you need.
Again, thank you so much. Those online, thank you. See you next month. Bye for now.